If you're an endurance athlete, you really want to look at measurements around oxygen carrying capabilities. And that endurance athlete being a cyclist, triathlete, or runner, as the first measurements you want to get on an athlete in those sports. VO2 max and lactate threshold are the two tests to conduct. One, VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen you're consuming at the maximum intensity or workload you're putting out. And the more oxygen you consume, the greater work or intensity you can produce. So that's what VO2 max is. And those who have a greater VO2 max, or what we call aerobic engine, tend to do better in endurance events because they're able to utilize a lot more oxygen so they can ride faster, run faster, swim better, things like that. Lactate threshold is another test, and it measures the intensity that an athlete is producing, either in terms of watts or running pace, right at the point that you cross over from using your aerobic system to using your anaerobic energy system. And what you want to do is be able to stay below this threshold. So you're basically staying in an aerobic state the majority of the time that you're racing. And if you can imagine, if you've got a series of hills throughout the course of a stage, and if Lance is very well trained, his power at lactate threshold is very high, when he comes to the climbs, as opposed to his opponents, he's going to be, staying below this threshold, staying aerobic, burning two types of fuel, fat and carbohydrate, and still being able to clear the lactic acid that's building up as his opponents hit these climbs and they start climbing. After about 10 minutes, they're going to get above their lactate threshold. That lactate is going to start to accumulate. It's not going to burn, it's not going to clear, it's going to start accumulating. And they'll be able to tolerate it and deal with it maybe for the first climb, the second climb, but come the third climb, it's going to be eventually a limiting factor for success for these guys that have gone above threshold early on the climbs, whereas Lance has been below threshold. Now when they get to this final climb to the finish, the guys that have been above threshold trying to stay with Lance, and Lance has been below threshold, now he can accelerate, and he has all the means and has all the carbohydrate stores to maximize his energy returns on a summit finish.